Led by intuition and fortuitous events, where I did find myself with downtime, with time on my hands. Everyone, I'm sure, must occasionally experience unexpected moments or periods of time which have a different quality, precisely because they are not allocated to a particular practical task. So as a result, these times become special, singled out, and allow us to see, think, and evaluate experience differently. So it's strange how, in some way, one always has the impression of being fortunate. Maybe that to be a human being is maybe to always have the impression of being fortunate. Have some chance happening, perhaps infinitesimal, almost too small to understand or experience, stops you crossing the threshold of despair and allows us to live. Maybe that's what keeps human beings going, this idea of being somehow fortunate. Okay, so this brings us to downtime. And now we can start. Okay, so downtime. Downtime is a risk, an experiment, and a speculation. But perhaps most importantly for me, the work suggests that a waste of time might still be something. That waste of time might be something. Which also suggests that time can't be wasted. There may be no such thing as wasting time. You try as hard as you like, maybe you can't waste time. Okay, if it's true that time can't be wasted, then we should perhaps consider every moment more carefully and search for the particular value in every moment that we experience, even those we may write off as negative, or without value, or wasted. So maybe we could reconsider moments that we think are a waste of time and try and find the value in it. One of the greatest traditions, I think, of modern, anything in the modern, any art in the modern period is people using what they've got. You know, whatever you've got, use it. You know, amazing things can happen just because people just look creatively at something that might maybe seems impossible or something. Human spirit can be redeemed and uplifted by having some small thing to value, some small thing to admire, some small thing to desire, scrutinize, discover. By having some small thing, or experiencing some small thing that could be shared with others. Something quite magical about these artworks and these people suddenly coming together by this curious means. Not because they all went to the same school together or because they had the same ambitions about art, but they were for completely different reasons for being here. And in a way, it's the whole point of the mechanism, is that it produces a surprising community.
But I think the community coming together because there's a demand for something that is shared that isn't being fulfilled elsewhere. You know.
About shows where the object wasn't what was important. You know, what was important was the community that art events produce. which is in a way illustrating what you're saying, that people realise that commodities, and the objects aren't what life is about. It's actually about communities and societies and things like that. Something universal and fundamental is represented about human needs and human experience. Even if you are alone or impoverished, without company, without possessions, even if you seem to be without anything particularly worthwhile to do. Carefully contemplating and considering exactly where you are, what you do have, and what you are doing might draw you into an affirmative evaluation of your circumstances. Slipping outside, useful time for a second and just looking at what's in front of you. Kind of draws you into a different meaning or value of life. I became interested in Japanese philosophy through a series of books that I kept finding at my local second-hand bookshop. And I was particularly interested in the tiny haiku poems, within which an apparently everyday event or experience can be seen by a poet with special sensitivity and a well-trained eye and mind. These tiny events encapsulate something magical about human experience of the changing world. In these respects, haiku seem to me very like photography. I also discovered the concept of satori in Japanese philosophy, by which someone can apparently change their mind, raising it to a higher level of clarity and awareness by means of a brief encounter with an apparently ordinary event. Perceiving something ordinary in a new, special way. And then suddenly a thought can strike you or something, or I don't know, sometimes just sort of human beings can suddenly turn into that tiny little insular world that there's nobody else around us. Though sometimes you believe you can see something with a special new clarity, you see something with a kind of extraordinary brilliance or something. Sometimes you have these moments where you realise that something you're doing that seems new to you, and then you realise that it's actually connected to something you've been interested in a long time. I think, to me, the show is really like that.
What memory is, what it means to you, and how am I responding to this now?
Make you have to open up and see things that you may not have seen before somewhere, and throws you as an audience back on yourself to see what might really think about what you're seeing.
Yeah, I think that's what art is for in a way. It's helping us to open up and get beyond rigid conceptual thinking.
Yeah. Just react to things without too much preconceived
That's
idea.
it.
I've always been interested in the kind of real diversity of art, and I've always been interested in critiquing the value of art. You know, what is good art, what is high art, what is low art, and I think this show, this is what I really wanted to say, was I think hopefully this show is really interesting for other people in that there's such a diversity of media, styles, professionals, non-professionals, people using art in therapeutic ways, people using art in careerist ways, political ways. I think there's such a sort of diversity in this show that's what thrills me most of all.
Conscious effort that if I make this work, I will feel better afterwards. I think they just literally have to make it.
Yeah.
And that possibly, yeah, clearly it helps them go from day to day.
Or find it very difficult to find a reason to make the art.
There's a man, and you can't understand what's in there, but you can understand the complexity of what he's thinking about. But I think in a way he will make these things whether someone allows him to or not. He'll do them somehow.
There's an incredible mismatch anyway between. There's an incredible mismatch between this rise of outside art being so valued by people who cannot stop making art, and then the professional kind of crisis in the professional world. People finding it difficult to find to locate the reason. In a way, it sounds like a kind of it smacks of decadence. It sounds like a society that's got so rich and sort of so complacent and lost its values and lost its way, and then the art of that society loses its kind of purpose and direction. And it does feel like that sometimes. It's like a crisis of decadence. If it becomes common, it becomes fairly valuable. Yeah, but I also think it's important to not despair. You said it was sad, and you sound a bit melancholic as well. But I think you have to always. So I suppose what you concentrate on is what's emerging. You know. Well, there's always a kind of desperation there as well. But there's also wonderful traditions, cultural traditions of like working class culture. In some ways, it's actually desperate and sad, but it also produces incredible responses itself, doesn't it? That you can't be melancholic about this decadence, because art itself, it seems, is affirmative. It's something positive about art. I'm sure about that. That's another point of conviction I have. I think art is something to do with affirming something, and that there is, as you say, there's always one generation might miss the crafts that are no longer available or the skills that the children achieve or something, but you really have to have faith in the things that they're excited about and the way that art and society is completely going to transform itself through these technologies.
Oh, I hate talking about the hate. Like, I hate talking about it because I hate giving it any attention. I hate bringing it to your guys' attention. And by you guys, I mean the nice people out there, the genuine people who watch our videos for the right reasons, because you like us. There's a point where it just gets too much. Like, I can't. I honestly don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. There comes a point where, like, it does, because it's just so much every single day, and it's not stopping. My blog was like a personal hobby that I did. It was a hobby, like, I liked doing it, and now I just hate doing it, because it doesn't matter. I put so much work and effort, and, like, I don't care what you guys say. Like, I know I write well. That's the thing. Like, I'm constantly being told how I'm crap at everything, how I can't do anything, how I suck at absolutely everything. I'm a terrible mom. I'm a terrible dog owner. I don't clean my house enough. I'm ugly. I'm either too fat, too skinny. When I was pregnant, I was told I had my legs look like tree trunks. Now I'm being told that I'm emaciated and disgusting. I don't even want to talk about it. I was feeling so crap this morning, and then I came down and all the puppies came over to me and like jumped on top of me, and it felt a lot better. So I'm gonna take a shower now because I think I just feel like crap, and if I take a shower, it'll probably make me feel better.
Hey, what's that? Look. Yeah, seriously. Look. What? More free fruit? Are you kidding me? It seems to me that allowing all those different sort of styles and voices to sit next to each other and not be evaluated in the way you might, or not be grouped or contextualized or evaluated in the way that you expect them to be. But in a way, it is a kind of investigation of the same thing, being fascinated by temporality.
So I'm trying to respond to those pieces, not just by thinking about what I know, but going straight back to my senses. Obviously the person is seeing. I'm just seeing some shapes and colours that may have meanings of various sorts. Some are what you can feel, some you can hear, some you might even taste. And on a very sensory level, how are we experiencing this particular artwork? I mean, an obvious thing is where a certain painting really makes us feel happy, very melancholy. You get a certain feeling somewhere, sort of around here somewhere. Other artwork may cause a response of disgust or shock or horror. Again, that's quite a powerful feeling, and people may be feeling it sort of in this.
Is that reflection?
So reflection is coming into your body a lot more rather than just your head, coming into your sensory experience. It's more the totality of one's experience.
That's one of the beauties of it, is that there's no industry that's gone into it. In a way, they sort of will risk themselves and offer themselves up as equally viable kind of propositions. That seems to me that that's healthy for the underlying idea that art itself is valuable.
Is this maybe the difference between outsider and insider art? That a trained artist will automatically go, oh, where's the context? Or how does this fit in? And someone who isn't trained, or I don't know, tries to not be trained, trends on their training, might actually look at it the way you just described it.
I mean, because I think there's a conviction there. When you, we in a way, we live in this very sort of relativist. Art can be like that, anything could be art, or anything can be valuable, or something like that. There's a very sort of relativist atmosphere, and the kind of postmodern society is kind of all these values and different kinds of people. Everyone can be judged equally in a way. There's a kind of relativism about society. But in a way, there's a conviction about that. There's a sort of a place where you think, oh, I'm not quite sure what's right, but one thing I know really is right. It's this anti-hierarchical thing. that makes sense to me. I think that if you're interested in any of those arts, if you're interested in art itself somehow, some kind of general idea of art, then what I'm trying to say is that maybe risking putting these very different things together is important for the sake of art. Because the fact that actually the art was just becoming much more plural, more people have got a chance to be artists than ever before. Maybe there's exhibitions like this where people feel invited, different people feel invited. It has got still got some potential in it, because in a way it starts to feed into these social and political questions you've been asking about. In a way, there's something about Downtime which isn't about professional art. It's something about everyday life. It's something about non-instrumentalized time, non-professional time, non-capitalist time, etc. It's almost like trying to rescue something magical from a world that might be losing its magic or in danger of losing its magic. There may be many different kinds of time. Time has qualities, not only quantities. Wait for a bus and time drags. Rush late for a job interview and time rushes faster than you. Fall in love and time becomes an experience that can't be measured. It seems that the fullest experiences require a more concrete immersion in time that alters the qualities of our perceptions. The philosopher Henri Bergson once asked, how would we know if everything in the universe, including ourselves, were sped up to double speed? He suggested the only difference might be thinning out of experience. At the grand funeral, the bell seems to mark seconds that are slower than usual, as time and events seem to thicken. The philosopher Jean Baudrillard once asked why cinema reserves slow motion or freeze frame for the highest moment of drama. So there's a dialogue between time, perception, quantity, and quality. It doesn't only take abstract form in a way. That's part of the beguiling nature of it, isn't it? That we can experience different qualities of time at different parts, during parts of the same day. Yeah. As I say, some parts of the day might rush, some parts of the day might seem, the time might have a kind of quality, a different sort of quality. And that may be different for me and for you, even if we were standing experiencing the same thing. So that is one of the questions that really fascinated me, the subjectivity of time. Say our culture at times has been sort of expropriated, hijacked, abused, exploited. People are sort of motivated every second by the radio news, the Facebook update, advertisement.
The insistence on having to be doing something in our time so we're not bored. I'm wondering what the relationship between that and the sort of almost the oppression we live under of the mind being in control of our mind has to be kept happy with some little interest.
I think downtime can probably be interpreted in many, many ways. We can move towards reverie, we can move towards nostalgia, but it's not only those things. I think it can take your mind to a place where it's not concerned with any utilitarian, practical use. There's some kind of sense of just a human being with an empty mind. We're talking in a way about all of us subject to a certain, in a way, sort of local and temporary, presumably cultural, kind of way of looking at the way our time is used. But other cultures and other times might be different.